What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Whitmer here, and welcome into another edition of MVP Sports Live right here on either Twitch or YouTube. I'm here with my first, not the first time we've done it, but my beautiful co-host, Jake Neverman.
How we doing?
Jake double dipping. You were on the show yesterday with Dave. Now you're on the show with me.
It's better not hosting. I'm telling you, I can just sit back, relax, let you do everything, and I can just talk. It's just white noise right now, this intro.
It's just white noise. It's always the same thing every time. We've got a full day, or a full show, I should say, of NFL, because there has been a lot going down since we last talked about the NFL last Tuesday. Jake and I are going to go through most of the free agencies. We've got a couple we want to hit, and then at the end, it's just kind of free for all, whichever ones we have not touched that we want to mention, we will hit. Let's get through the housekeeping, though, before we get into everything. Number one, join the Discord, greatest community in the universe. That link down below in the description, or you can put !Discord into Twitch chat to get you that link. Also, if you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids. We got bronze, silver, gold, platinum levels. You can also sub on Twitch and be the same as a bronze level patron and get rewarded for supporting us. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Pat Hill. And then last but not least, we're on Twitch every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. We are also on YouTube at MVP Sports. And Jake, let's get right into it. So the big ones that we're going to touch on today's show, we're going to touch the Saints, because you're a Saints fan. We're going to touch the Bears because they're idiots. Then we're going to touch the Patriots because Bill Belichick's back. And the Patriots are back, it seems. And then after that, we'll basically free reign. Anything is on the table. But let's start with your good old Saints. And before we get into Winston and the main part of this, I just want to, you as a Saints fan, what do you got to say to Drew Brees, who finally hung it up after many years in the NFL?
Well, one, it was time. Thank you for retiring and not holding us hostage. But two, I mean, he changed the entire franchise into what it is. Him and Sean Payton revolutionized New Orleans football and turned us from the laughing stock of the league into contenders. And they're still going to be contenders for years to come because of what he did and what they built and the culture they built in New Orleans. So I hope nobody, Saints are very rare at retiring numbers. I think it's pretty clear that nobody should ever wear number 9 in a Saints jersey ever again. And in 5 years, he'll be in Canton, Ohio. So, I mean, you can't ask for much more. He's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to do it. And he's just an all-time legend.
So now it's a very different Saints team where you were telling me yesterday that your GM, I want to say, has been making moves left and right to clear cap space. One of the things he did was he restructured Tysom Hill's contract so that Tysom Hill is getting paid $140 million, but it's a completely voidable contract, so that might not hurt the team in the end. Yeah. He's also done other things. He's cleared up cap space while keeping a roster that can challenge for a Super Bowl. But the quarterback position is where we look, Jake, because couple days ago, well, actually yesterday, Peyton was on the Dan Patrick show, and he said this. It says, Peyton left open the possibility that the Saints will still consider other options at the position during an interview on the Dan Patrick show. ESPN, get a better site because it keeps crashing on me. He said that, let's see the exact quote, but when asked if the Saints are set at quarterback, Peyton responded with, and of course it crashed right when I needed it, he responded with, where is it? I think we are. Kind of hinting that it's going to be an open competition between Winston and Hill. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Jake, you as the fan of the Saints, is this an open quarterback battle, or is Jameis Winston the if de facto starter for the Saints next year?
I think it's quote unquote in air quotations open quarterback competition, but I think it's Jameis's job to lose because they love what Tysom brings in that role where he's that you just plug him in for a play and see what he does. I think Jameis is a quarterback who actually performed somewhat well in Tampa Bay. I understand with the interceptions and everything, but we saw that early with Bruce Arians and Tom Brady in Tampa Bay that they struggled and they threw a lot of interceptions in that system. Obviously, they cleared up and won a Super Bowl. That's because Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. It's a little different scale here. I've said for many years that Sean Payton
and Jared Cook fumbled.
And Jared Cook fumbled. You're damn right.
That's why he's out of town.
And now he's not on the team. I think I've learned after 14 years, whatever Sean Payton decides is usually the right decision.
Yeah.
Question mark sometimes with Taysom Hill. I think the one name that I think when you look at their quarterback position, the one name that might come back up, Bears fans are going to love this, is Mitchell Trubisky. Yep. Because you look at him and I see a quarterback who still could be a solid NFL quarterback if he had the right coaching and he wasn't under Matt Nagy with poor receivers and a poor offensive line, and before Montgomery this year, a poor running game. So do I think Mitch Trubisky is really good? No. I think Jameis gets the run this year. If he performs well, they pay him what Taysom got, but an actual contract and not all years voidable like Taysom Hill's was. And if not, then they go searching for a quarterback in the draft. I'd assume they're going to go cornerback in the first round, not quarterback, because they need somebody after cutting Janoris Jenkins to play next to Marshawn Lattimore. I think it'll be interesting. This team is still the big thing was that they kept the core together. The next moves will be extending Teron Armstead, extending Ryan Ramczyk, and extending Marshawn Lattimore. Those will be the next three moves you'll probably see out of the Saints, and then we'll get to the draft time, and then that's where things get a little bit spicy.
Yeah, and I mean, the big thing with the Saints, too, is that I wanted to ask you with the free agency, how big of a move was it to, because one of the moves I was looking on the transactions, it was Winston, and then the next name under was Ty Montgomery. To where, like, bringing in that running back, like, yet again, you've got Alvin Kamara. Like, Kamara's going to be your guy, but to always have that backup behind him, like, the Saints haven't made, like, what you said, it's like, I don't think this free agency for the Saints is going to be like, what big splashes can we make? Yeah. It's more of a, let's restructure the cap so that we stay under the line this year, but then also make sure we keep the core and keep the guys that we already have here intact. Because if we lose too many of them, well, Tommy B's just going to run the division until he decides to retire.
We might not have won the Super Bowl. We still won the division last year, so I can hang on to that one. I think
consolation prize,
consolation prize, baby. And they got Jared Cook off the Saints, so maybe that's another consolation prize.
Yeah,
Ty Montgomery is a very solid player. Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray are still going to outrank him in the running back depth chart. But he played very well last year in the game where we had no running backs because of obviously his COVID situation. He played very well. I don't know if I remember his exact stats, but he filled in pretty well. But I also think that has to do with the Saints have one of the best offensive lines in the league. And when you have Sean Payton, he creates mismatches regardless of what roster he has. The man went 7-9 with some of the worst defenses in NFL history. So it's going to be interesting with this running game because now I think you have a three-headed monster with Ty Montgomery, Latavius Murray, and obviously Alvin Kamara. This offense is going to be very interesting to watch because the deep ball is going to come into play this year because we have a quarterback who can throw the ball past 15 yards.
Yeah, and I mean, so far the Saints, the guys that the Saints have lost, you've got Emmanuel Sanders is now in Buffalo. Hendrickson, the defensive end, is now in Cincy. Josh Hill is now in Detroit. And then Justin Hardy is in the New York Jets camp. Janoris Jenkins is now with Tennessee. Those are kind of the big names that you guys have lost. And I'm interested to see what Jameis Winston can do. I'm honest, because I have not been the biggest Jameis Winston defender. I have been one of the biggest Jameis Winston haters, if I'm saying that nicely, mainly because some off-the-field stuff, but also mainly because I was a Mariota guy. I will always be a Mariota guy. When it's Mariota or Winston, I will always back my boy Marcus Mariota over Jameis Winston. Kind of the last thing I kind of think of with this, Jake, is year 2 with Jameis. You mentioned this when we were just shooting the shit in Discord yesterday. I think it was yesterday or the day before. You were like, well, look at Teddy Bridgewater. When Teddy Bridgewater was here, look at how good he looked. Then he goes to Carolina and look at how bad he is. Do you think that is necessarily the Saints system, or is it the small sample size that he just played well in that system and maybe Jameis struggles next year having to play an entire season compared to like 5 games?
Yeah. Now, my belief is that Sean Payton can make any quarterback look good at this point. The man's gone 8-1 over 2 years without Drew Brees, with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill. I think it also has to do with the offense and what they've put around him. They have elite wide receiver with Michael Thomas. They have good secondary receivers. No Emmanuel Sanders this year, but Marquez Callaway and Traquan Smith are very solid 2-3 options that you can put out there. And then Alvin Kamara is just a spark plug in any offense where If a quarterback is in trouble, you can just look 5 yards to your left and there's Alvin Kamara. You toss it to him. He turns a 2-yard pass into a 25-yard gain. It's just what he does. I think Sean Payton's a genius when it comes to offense. The Saints always come down to their defense, but besides this year with having a 43-year-old quarterback, it's always come down to their defense. So if the defense can stay solid this year again, then I think Jameis has all the chances in the world to be not elite, but to be a solid quarterback again and get himself a payday.
Let's move on. Let's go. We're sticking the NFC. Let's go to a team that made their fans very upset. I've seen it all across Bears Twitter of people do not like Andy Dalton and do not like that he is a part of this Bears team. Andy Dalton signed a 1-year, $10 million deal, a max value of $13 million with incentives. Here's my thoughts on this, Jake. I live in Chicago, as JD said. Red Rocket, baby.
Do you?
What'd you say?
I said you live in Chicago. Didn't know that.
I do live in Chicago. Although I'm a Vikings fan, I am surrounded by Bears all around.
Bears.
Bears. And the thing that I think of is I think Bears fans are a little delusional. Just going to say that right now.
I would have to agree, yes.
Because although you could make a run for Russell Wilson, I didn't think you were going to get Russell Wilson. Also, the thing of like, great, you get Russell Wilson. How's he going to do behind that offensive line? You got to shore that up first. Also, I've seen things where it's like, look at the stats between Andy Dalton and Mitch Trubisky. Trubisky's better. It's like, yeah, but you bitched about him the whole year.
Yeah, I think I'll palm this one in. I think they have. I don't really know what they want because I know they want an elite quarterback. Yeah. I get that.
They want to be good again. I get it. Yeah. But you're not going to be good with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy.
They messed up with Mitchell Trubisky and they messed up this entire rebuild. Sometimes you have to realize it and be like, all right, we have to hit the reset button. We're not going to win a Super Bowl. This team has Deshaun Watson. This team has Russell Wilson, which they're not going to get either of them most likely. I still don't know if they're the best team in the conference. They have so many holes that their offensive line is still garbage.
Yep.
Their wide receiver core is thin, and Allen Robinson, your best receiver, doesn't want to be there. So I don't know exactly what direction this team is going in. I get that Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy want to save their jobs, so they're not going to tank. But trading Khalil Mack and trading Allen Robinson and getting first-round picks back for them would be the best avenue for this team right now to start another. It would only be a short-term rebuild because of some of the young talent they have on the team. It's very frustrating from the outside looking in because you see what has to be done, but you also see this franchise that's now going to be stuck in the middle because they won't be bad enough. They won't be bad enough to have like 4 or 5 wins and get a top pick. This team's going to win 6, 7, 8 games this year, and they're going to get a mid-first round pick and probably not make the playoffs because Andy Dalton, while he's not a great quarterback, he's an all right quarterback, and he'll win some games with that defense. It's a very big question mark because I don't think the Bears know exactly. The Bears fans know what they want, but they don't have realistic expectations to get there because if they were to trade for Deshaun Watson, they're going to have to give so much value that it depletes their roster to a point where they aren't contenders.
So here's the thing I think with the whole Andy Dalton thing is Andy Dalton to me is an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky. And the reason why is think about what you were saying about the Saints, Jake, where what was the one thing you're excited for with Jameis Winston? What are you going to actually be able to do because he's younger than Drew Brees?
I'd agree.
Push the ball down the field. That was the biggest thing with Mitch Trubisky. Short passes, man. You can't throw it too far because Mitch can't do that. Mitch can't throw it really far. By the way, we need a long bomb. Let's have our running back throw it. And then the guy drops it, and it should have been a touchdown in the playoff game. But that's what I feel like Andy Dalton, although he is not what he used to be in Cincinnati, he is still an upgrade for this team. Is he the right quarterback? No, that's completely on the other side because I feel like I've said it before. I'll say it again. Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, more so Ryan Pace than Matt Nagy, but both of them together are coaching and managing on borrowed time.
Yeah.
This is a complete borrowed time season Oh, don't forget, Philly Sean said Mitch the only MVP in NFL history.
I was gonna say I forgot to say it in the Saints segment, but the Saints signed Mitchell Trubisky to be the first team ever with a Heisman winner and an MVP on the same team.
MVP, not MVP, MVP. But like Andy Dalton last year did not do bad with the Dallas Cowboys, and he had receivers around him. Now, yet again, when you've got like CeeDee Lamb out there, Amari Cooper, like you've got a guy like Zeke in the backfield, like those guys are better than what the Bears have, except for Allen Robinson. It just is. But like, I feel like this is a move where if they truly, because we're going to get into Allen Robinson in a second, if the Bears want to try to impress Allen Robinson and say, no, we want you here, this is the quarterback you do it, because it's like, hey, we can actually use your tools now because our quarterback can actually throw it to you on a deep route.
Yeah, I really do like Mooney too. I think Mooney's good and could end up being better than some of those guys, but not yet. Obviously, he's only in his second year. This team, quarterback play is so important in the NFL, and you cannot, most of the time, you cannot win a Super Bowl without an elite quarterback. At the same time, you can't win a Super Bowl with an elite quarterback in a shit roster built around it. So the Bears are stuck in the middle. We talk about this with the NBA all the time, where teams don't want to get stuck in the middle because you're not going to win a Super Bowl and you're not going to get a high enough pick to get that generational talent to make you great again. And that's where they're sitting. I mean, last year they traded for Nick Foles, and now this year they're getting Andy. It just does not make sense.
Is Nick Foles going to win the quarterback battle? Like, do they sign Andy Dalton and then not even start him? Like,
no,
I could see Matt Nagy doing that.
I think no, because Nick Foles is a good quarterback when you stick him behind a very good offensive line. He's a good game manager at that point. He can't play, and we saw this last year, behind a bad offensive line. It does not work. He's too old. Andy Dalton, while you think he's really old, he's only 33 years old. So he still is not – he's not what he was in Cincinnati. But can he drag this team to 6, 7, 8 wins? Yeah, he most likely can, which is almost a bad thing, I think, for the Bears. But Bears fans will be like, yeah, but we can maybe make the playoffs at 8-8.
Can I ask a dumb question? Yeah. And this kind of, I want to segue this into the Allen Robinson thing then, because the whole thing with A-Rob, they franchise tag him, and then it comes out that Allen Robinson's like, fuck it, I'm not even going to sign it because I don't want to be here, trade me. And right now they're in a standstill. I will ask you, the first question I'll ask is, if Allen Robinson was involved in a trade, what's the highest draft pick this year you think the Bears could get for him? Like, of course, there's more in the deal, but what number pick would you be targeting at the highest for an Allen Robinson trade if you wanted to pick this year?
If you can get him to agree to an extension, some team would give up a mid-first for him. He's a top 10 receiver in the league. Okay. He has had shit quarterbacks for his entire career in Chicago, and he's still found his way to be a top 15 in nearly every statistical category. I don't know. Again, I don't know. There's a lot of teams who need receiver help. If you want to look at teams like the New York Giants, they're in talks with Kenny Golladay right now. If those would fall through, that's a team. They do what you say, JD. I see you say they have the third because they have no leverage. They do have leverage because they have the franchise tag. They can not let him go anywhere. They can sit on him all year and then fine him the entire year because he won't sign the franchise tag.
Well, and also if he doesn't sign the tag, I feel like then they still have 3 tags left because he didn't sign.
Yeah, so they do have leverage in this situation, which is why the franchise tag is the dumbest thing in sports. It is just dumb to hamper a player to a team, even though he doesn't want to be there. Allen Robinson has to come out, and he hasn't yet, and say, I want to be traded. He has said, I've seen rumblings on Twitter where he liked tweets where the franchise tag is stupid and all that. And if a team is going to take a receiver with their first round pick, why wouldn't they just flip it and get Allen Robinson if they're ready like the Giants?
Well, my question being is, so in your mind, because there's 2 teams I look at, the one that's at 3 needs him more than the one at 2, but could the Bears work out a trade with either the Jets or the Dolphins, where the main part is Allen Robinson goes to that team, the Bears get the 2nd or the 3rd overall pick?
Well, yeah, the Dolphins also have, I think, the 18th overall pick, so that could come into play. Well, they're not trading the 3rd overall pick for Allen Robinson.
Here's my mindset though, and maybe a mid-round pick works better, but like the thing I'm working at, and this is first part is fantasy world, where I'm like, if I could trade Allen Robinson to a team like the Dolphins or a team like the Jets, then I can go ahead and get Zach Wilson as in the draft.
No,
That's fantasy world. I know fantasy.
It's fantasy world. Yeah, there's no way they're getting a top.
But let's say mid-round, like should the Bears? Because I feel like the Bears are in prime Kyle Trask territory, where they're either going to draft him in the second or trade up with the Bucs at 32 to get that extra extension on him. However, I'm sitting here thinking, look at the two quarterbacks on the Bears roster. Andy Dalton, 1 year, he's done at the end. Nick Foles has a potential out after this year where it's then a 2-year, $16 million contract, 3.6 in dead cap. You just eat the 3.6 for a year. I don't think that's a bad thing to do if you're the Bears. I feel like there could be a chance of, okay, you know what? Allen doesn't want to be here. Neither of these quarterbacks are our future. Yeah. Maybe do they have a shot then to trade up and target either a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields? Because those would be the quarterbacks you're looking then at in the mid-first. But honestly, Justin Fields may go top 5, top 10. Like, it depends on if Atlanta wants him or if Detroit wants him or if Carolina wants him. Like, he could go anywhere in that range.
I think the range that I'm looking at is the 18, 19, and 21 picks, the Colts, the football team, and the Dolphins. Those are 3 teams who need receiver help and would probably be willing to give up their picks unless, of course, it all comes down to who falls in the draft.
Did you say the Eagles?
I did not.
Okay, the Eagles would be another team at 6 that I would be like, they would be dumb not to get into that conversation.
I think they would be dumb to trade the 6th overall pick for him. What if they can trade a future for it?
Do you think A-Rob is better? Do you think any of the rookies at 6 are better than A-Rob?
Again, it depends who falls. I would love to see Kyle Pitts. I think Jamar Chase, if Jamar Chase falls to 6, Kyle Pitts, if you could get one of them.
I'll put it this way. Tankathon has Devonta 6 at 6. Devonta Smith to Devonta 6 at 6.
Devonta 6 at 6.
If you were to choose between Devonta Smith and A-Rob, who are you taking?
Okay, well, obviously you want Allen Robinson as a player, but you get Devonta Smith on the rookie deal.
Yep.
So you get Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith on the rookie deal, or my boy Jalen Waddle still sticking on that one. Yep. He on a rookie deal.
They got him all the way to 11 to the Giants.
That's wild. See, that's wild. That's why I'm saying the mid to late first round picks are where the Bears are going to have to target if they are going to trade him and try to get a first round pick, because a team like the Dolphins, who has that pick at 3 and then picks again at 18, might be willing to give up that 18th overall pick if they get an offensive lineman with that first pick or whatever they do with it. So that's where it's targeted. I don't think you're going to get anywhere near a top 10 pick for him unless some team's that desperate, but I don't really think any team up that high is going to do it.
And here's the thing I wonder with the Dolphins mainly is it's one of those things where I don't see the Bears trading for the 18th, because if they're trading for the 18th with A-Rob, they're then keeping their own pick because they're like, we're at 20. A 2-pick move up doesn't help us. But like I look at it and like Tankathon has it to where Lawrence is 1, Wilson is 2. They got Justin Fields at 5 and Trey Lance at 7. It's like, where are those quarterbacks going to go? I don't think they go to 4 and 7. I don't think the Falcons are taking a quarterback.
Their only need isn't quarterback either. They need offensive line help, and Vera Tucker's sitting right there at 8 in that 18 to 20 range. So that is a guy they could target with the pick and fill another need while getting rid of a receiver. It's not. They have this team has more needs than just quarterback. I get that they might not get a quarterback this year, but it's not necessarily that you need it this year.
You need to next year.
Yeah, I think Dalton is looked at as a bridge quarterback. He's just going to get us through this year. It's a 1-year deal. And then after that, we'll look at the quarterback options next year. It's just getting as much. The Bears need talent. They need more talent. Their defense is amazing, but the offense has so many holes that they need to fill them, and getting an extra first round pick and they should take 2 offensive linemen in the first round if they get an extra first round pick would be huge for them.
I mean, let's see. If they made that trade with the Dolphins, were able to keep their own pick, the best 2 offensive linemen there, they could take Jenkins from Oklahoma State, and then after that, it would be Jalen Mayfield out of Michigan, or either
Ricky,
Samuel Cosmi.
Let me just cross off one team I just said. The Washington football team just signed Curtis Samuel to a 3-year, $31 million deal. So they're no longer going to trade their first-round pick for Allen Robinson.
We are definitely going to talk about them later, because I wanted to talk about their quarterback they signed.
But knock them off the list when I just said them, because now they have a receiver.
Could you? I was going to say something, but it's dumb. Okay. I was going to say, could you imagine if, let's say, the Bengals, everyone thinks that Penny Sewell is their guy. If either they passed on Sewell or traded up and took like a wide receiver instead of Sewell or something crazy. And then the Bears at 6 trade with the Eagles, say we will give you the 6th and the 20th. Or we'll take the 6th, we'll give you the 20th, we'll give you A-Rob. And the Bears somehow got Penny Sewell at 6. I feel like a Bears fan right now because I'm speaking just.
I was gonna say that is such wishful thinking.
Oh, I know, but yet again, we've seen crazier things with people fall in the draft.
We have, but I
don't think Sewell.
I think 4 of the top 6 picks are probably gonna be quarterbacks. So then it's just gonna depend on what happens after that.
Do you think A-Rob gets traded? I do not think so. I want him to, but I do not think so.
Until I hear the report that he actually requests a trade. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's getting moved. If he requests a trade, then I will redo my opinion and I'll say he's getting traded. Yeah. But until he formally requests his trade, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, and I also agree heavily with Kyler Murray MVP that I do think that the Detroit Lions are going to go with a quarterback. But let's move on into the main team I wanted to talk about, Jake. The New England Patriots making moves. They are signing people left and right. There was a little GIF on Twitter I saw today, kind of a low-ride sports car riding into a parking garage, and it's like Bill Belichick trying to stay below the cap line, and the car just barely slides under the bar to get into the parking garage. It's like, this team is making moves. I will ask you plain and simple, are the Patriots back, baby? Are they back and going to be a team to not mess with in the AFC East?
They'll be very good. I still have very strong concerns when Cam Newton is still their quarterback and he's beyond washed.
They're getting them weapons, man.
You can give him all the weapons you want. He's still beyond washed. He fumbles late in games. He throws late game interceptions. He's inconsistent with his throwing.
We could see MVP Cam, baby. MVP.
You're never going to see MVP Cam again. His body's deteriorated too far for him to go back to that. I think Cam is solid. This team is probably going to win 9 to 11 games this year, depending on if they add a actual good quarterback, then maybe I'll extend that. I think as of now, you're looking at a team. Oh, actually, I forgot we're playing 17 games this year. So I'll say 9 to 12 wins this year. And then we'll see from there. It's just, that's the target. They'll be over 500. They're definitely going to be a lot better than they were last year. And the times are changing. If you want to talk about a team who could trade for Allen Robinson and really solidify themselves, the Patriots are also one of those teams.
Let's be honest, though. Cam Newton ain't the prize here because so far, Cam Newton signed a 1-year deal. That's fine. Nelson Aguilar's now on this team. He signs a 2-year deal. Kendrick Bourne, 3-year deal. Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith signing 3- and 4-year deals respectively. They trade for Trent Brown on the offensive line. They get my boy out of Illinois, Ted Karras, or Karras, I think it is. And then also they've got like Buthel, Mills coming in, Judson. Here's the thing I think, Jake, with this Patriots team. You know what they're really waiting for? You know what Bill Belichick is waiting for?
What?
What goes on in San Francisco, baby? What are they going to do? They haven't made a move yet. They haven't decided whether they're going to stick with Jimmy G or not.
He's also terrible.
But is he better than Cam Newton? Is he better than Cam Newton? And here's the thing. Is this a Saints situation where you're like, oh, look at Teddy Bridgewater, look at Winston under Sean Payton? Is this just a thing of like, well, Bill Belichick with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo going to look better with Bill Belichick because he looked good with Bill Belichick before.
I mean, he definitely could. I just this division is going to be very interesting in general. This team, I hope their 2 tight end system this year works out better than the last time they had 2 elite tight ends. You know, really killer duo there.
Absolutely killer duo.
I don't know yet. I think it's going to be. It's going to be interesting watching this team. This team's defense is going to be one of, if not the best in the entire league once again, because that is what Bill Belichick does. Mm-hmm. Now to look at the offense, they lose Stunny, obviously. They still add, I can't think of his name. They traded for him.
Trent Brown.
Trent Brown. They get Trent Brown back, which is a great addition for their offensive line. It's going to be very interesting with this team. David Andrews is now going to hit free agency, they said, instead of re-signing after considering the Patriots offer. Yep. So the offensive line is a little bit of a question mark. They've always produced good offensive lines, though, so I'm not too worried about it. It just comes down to Cam for me. Yeah. I don't hope, actually. I hope the Patriots suck. But to be an elite team again, they need to get a better quarterback than Cam Newton.
But the one thing I will say is think of Cam at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Before
3 games.
Before he got COVID, think about what Cam was. Like, that's what I literally think. I feel like the part where Cam got COVID and was out, that changed his season. That was the one that changed the season. Because before that, remember week 2 against the Seahawks? He was elite. Elite in that game. I think they lost, and that was because Russell Wilson was also
They did. They lost at the 1 yard
MVP. But it was a thrilling game. He was playing lights out football the first few weeks of the season. It's hard for me to say that the Patriots are for sure back, though, because the Bills are still here. Like, the Bills are still here. And the one thing that I noticed with every, 3 of the 4 teams in this division, they've all added a wide receiver that helps this team. The Bills added Emmanuel Sanders that can help them. The Patriots added Nelson Aguilar that helps them. Also Kendrick Bourne, but no, more so Nelson Aguilar. And then the Jets added Corey Davis from the Tennessee Titans. So, like, I feel like this division is going to be interesting, mainly because now it's like, okay, are the Patriots and Bills going to have a fight?
Yeah.
Are they going to be fighting for the division? I think it's hard to... New England fans should be happy. They should just be happy
they should be over the moon.
Where you are. But, like, at the end of the year, can you put the money on the Patriots to win the division again? Or are you still with the Bills? As Dave mentioned, the Bills did lose John Brown. So basically, you're getting rid of John Brown, you're adding Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah, I think I like Emmanuel Sanders for that team. I think he fits better in that system than he fit in the Saints system. So hopefully a little bounce back here.
Mm-hmm.
I think both teams win double-digit games, and it comes down to a game in the division for the two. They'll both be in the playoffs. I think the Dolphins are a little bit behind, and the Jets, it's more of a wait and see. We'll see what happens with them. I think the Patriots and the Bills are going to be 2 of the best 4 or 5 teams in the conference. Mm-hmm. The problem with the Patriots, again, though, is Cam Newton. Cam Newton is going to be the detriment of this team.
It all circles back to Cam.
It all circles back to quarterback play. This is a team. This is the opposite of not the opposite of the Bears. They have an elite roster now around him, and then they have a shit quarterback. The Bears have neither of those. Just shitting on the Bears.
You know what you sound like to me right now?
What?
Charlie in the mailing room. Instead of Pepe Sylvia, it's Cam Newton. And I'm like, Bill, knocking on the door. I can't find Bill. There's no Bill. Charlie, not only do all these people exist, they've been asking for their mail for weeks.
Lord, this division is gonna be very, very, very interesting. It's gonna be 2 elite teams. Yep. One with an elite quarterback, one with a shit quarterback. So that's probably gonna be the difference to me. Unless if they add a quarterback, then there's a little bit different. And Dave said, is there a chance to take one?
Mac Jones. That's the one they're looking at. Well, that's the one everyone throws their way. Even Tankathon had Mac Jones to the Patriots. Here's the thing with the Patriots and quarterbacks. Like, think of the last quarterback they drafted was Jimmy G. I don't know if they take one in the first. Like, I almost look at it and I go, who's some of the sneaky quarterbacks down the line that Bill Belichick can, like, scout and be like, that's my guy?
I think it's different Patriots now, though. Like, they never spent like this in free agency. They set a record for their team, and they sent like $65 million in cap room in like a day. And I have to correct you, Ricky. They took Jared Stidham in 2019.
You're right. I forgot about Stidham.
Stidham.
God, the Stidham. What am I thinking? The Stidham defenders are going to come at me just like the fucking Jacob Eason defenders came at me in
I kind of like Jacob
Eason.
I kind of like Jacob Eason. So.
Yeah, apparently the Indianapolis Colts are really high on him. But
they traded for Carson Wentz. So. I was going to say, I think there's a chance if Mac Jones falls, if they can there's always fallers in the draft. So if somebody like Trey Lance falls or somebody like that, then that becomes a possibility. Mm-hmm. I don't think they reach for Kyle Trask in the first round. I hope they do for their own sake because he's terrible. So I want to see that happen. I think Mac Jones is sensible. He's a check down god, and that's what Tom Brady was in New England. So I think it fits perfectly. Will they get it? Will they actually take him? Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It depends what happens the rest of free agency and where they trade. So it is a possibility for Mac Jones, but at the same time, his stock has been rising so much for some reason because he's apparently the guy in this draft where they're like, hey, that's the guy. He's raising like 20 spots in everybody's mocks now in the last 2 weeks.
Is it weird that there's not a lot of mainly I'm used to seeing more quarterbacks on prospect boards where like CBS has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the 6 that we talked about for the first round, and then Jamie Newman out of Georgia. and then Kellen Mond. There's a part of me that goes, will Bill Belichick give Kellen Mond a look?
Oh,
and
don't
if
say
he
that for
falls
Dave.
in love with Kellen Mond, that's the guy he goes with later on.
Don't say that to Dave.
Why?
Dave wants Kellen Mond in Chicago.
Oh, he wants to in Chicago.
Chicago.
Kellen Mond, Texas Tech guy. I think Kellen Mond, was he also at Mississippi State and then transferred? I think he transferred
That's a U one
to the Aggies. I would have to look that up.
College is you there, buddy.
Yeah. But moving on, the last thing we'll talk about is kind of like other teams we didn't hit. One of the ones I want to start with. So Curtis Samuel signed a 3-year, $31 million deal with them as we were doing the show. So that's one thing that they have. Also, they got the journeyman quarterback who now has played for every single NFL team per sources. No, he's only played for 9 of them, and that is Ryan Fitzpatrick. They also signed, and this is another key offensive signing for me, they also signed Lamar Miller in the backfield. Jake, is this Washington football team to be taken seriously this year and not just as a 7-9 playoff team?
They're the defending division champs, and they got
because
better.
Dak Prescott got injured.
I know that Philly Sean won't like this. Cover your ears. I think it's a 2-team division. I think the Cowboys with Dak Prescott back healthy, and I think the Washington football team. The Washington football team is a good team. They upgraded that quarterback. I think Fitzpatrick is better than Alex Smith. Sorry, I love your feel-good story there, Alex Smith, but this guy is. And the wild card. The wild card for the Washington football team. Say it. You know who it is.
For Washington?
Heineke.
Oh,
it's still the wild card. Is he going to come and is he going to play as well as he did in that playoff game? He gave the Bucs the best battle of the entire playoffs that they had. I don't know why I'm talking like Mel Kiper right now, but that's what I'm doing.
And just to correct Dave, it was the quarterback he's talking about that sat out. That was Jamie Newman. He was Georgia's projected starter. He sat out the entire year, unless it's the Wake Forest guy. Or no, he is the Wake Forest guy. He grad transferred to Wake Forest. So Jamie Newman was that guy.
And also they added William Jackson from Cincinnati to their team to increase the secondary. I think they lost Darby. I forget where he signed, but they lost Darby in free agency and they signed William Jackson. So this team, Ron Rivera wins, regardless of how good his roster usually is. He usually keeps a competitive team. He made Cam Newton that 15-1 season. He knew what they were doing.
So it wasn't Cam, it was Ron Rivera that made him.
Ron Rivera. See, never been the same.
Darby went to Denver, by the way, on a $30 million deal.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So this team is good. I think them in Dallas is going to be a very interesting battle this season because Dak hopefully staying healthy. Hope for his sake he got his bag. Now I'm happy for Dak. Yeah. And Ryan Fitzmagic wins. I mean, kind of sometimes. He starts like half a season and wins games. I'm going to be interested to see if they're going to transition to Heineke or if there is another move for this team at quarterback in the rest of this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, Washington, to me, the Cowboys are my favorite, only because of, you get Dak Prescott back with that team. That team was looking good. I know that some people may go, but Ricky, the Giants had them close. The Giants always play the Cowboys close, people. Those games are always 3-point games, no matter when they're played, no matter what the record of either team is. But I mean, the Cowboys are the team that I like at the beginning, but Washington, we might actually have to be putting respect on their name that we do not know yet, because apparently they want to go one more year as the Washington football team, which I think, by the way, I agree with Mark Weber in the Discord. Stupidest idea ever. Just pick a goddamn name. I don't care what it is. Just pick a name. Be a team. The WFT is okay for now, but it's a temporary thing. Pick a name. Go ahead.
Can I say that I kind of like it? It's grown on me so much.
See,
I actually like the name football team.
I will only like it if they do the Pat McAfee idea. Instead of the... Because in soccer, you got the FC. Name it the DCFC or the DC Football Club. That's what they should go with. The DCFC.
I would love that.
DCFC. That is what the name should be.
As a huge football team, not American football, actual football, I would like. That's gonna piss some people off. I would love it. I would love it.
If you're not gonna go with an actual name, that is what you go with. Jake, another team that kind of tickled my fancy, I don't know if it tickled yours, was the Tennessee Titans.
I don't want to be tickled.
I like to be tickled. Is the Tennessee Titans, mainly because of one thing. Bud Dupree, 5-year deal. Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
I know they've got guys like Fitzger, 1-year deal, Swam, 1-year deal, Kendall Lamb, Danico Autry. You've got Jalen Brown, Janoris Jenkins, who I also mentioned. But Bud Dupree getting let go by the Steelers. He now goes to Tennessee, who I do think they play each other this year. I will have to check. This Tennessee team is good. Vrabel's got the boys playing, and I cannot wait to see what both Dupree and Jenkins do in this Vrabel defensive system on this Vrabel coach team.
Yeah, Janoris Jenkins was very solid for the Saints. He just was a cap casualty. That's all it came down to. So adding him and adding Dupree got a lot of money. So that's the big question mark. But I actually trust Vrabel. How short term he's been a coach.
5-year, by the way, 5-year, $85 million with $35 guaranteed for Bud.
Yeah, I like this Titans team a lot. They were very good last year. Any team that is on the back of that good of a running back in Derrick Henry is going to be what?
So we don't know the order, obviously.
Yeah.
At Pittsburgh this year, Tennessee.
Ooh, well, let's touch on
Bud Dupree coming home in a Titans jersey.
That is the team that I want to touch on after the Titans.
The Steelers?
We need to talk about the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Titans are the last couple of years they've kind of shifted their whole culture with Vrabel, and they've turned themselves into a steady franchise who is now going to be playoff contenders every single year, and they're just going to be there every year. So maybe one year they'll take that jump and get to a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I think this team has great receivers. They lost Jonnu Smith. That's a big loss for them. I want to know what they're going to do at tight end. And then you've got now a better secondary with a guy like Janoris Jenkins being able to plug in as your number 2 corner. And he is very good in that role. He solidified the Saints for many years in that secondary. So I think this team is interesting. I think it's going to be, I think Tannehill is good enough to win games, and this coaching staff knows what they're doing.
They lost 2 weapons. Kyler Murray also says Corey Davis was undervalued by the Titans. He had a pretty good 2020. He's now with the New York Jets.
Yep, he's also very good. I just love A.J. Brown, so I think they're still all right.
A.J. Brown was fire.
As long as he has Derrick Henry, they're going to be a solid offensive team. That's literally, he's the best running back in the league.
And also with that division, the Texans are self-imploding. Jacksonville, we will touch them before we end the show because they made some interesting signings. But yet again, we don't know what to expect from Urban Meyer in his first year. I think the division comes down to right now, Titans or can Carson Wentz lead the Colts to the promised land? Is it going to be MVP Carson now that he's back with Frank Reich? But you want to touch the Steelers. What's on your mind in Pittsburgh, Jake?
This is a team that's heading towards a rebuild. They're gonna be teetering on it this year, and then next year they're gonna have to go full rebuild. They are. Ben is past whatever prime, whatever it was. Never was a Big Ben fan, whatever it was. Mike Tomlin only won a Super Bowl because he won it with Bill Cowher's team. It is what it is. Now they lose Bud Dupree, they're losing Juju Smith-Schuster, and they decide to bring back Ben Roethlisberger while they have Dwayne Haskins waiting in the wing to be their next franchise quarterback.
Dewey Haskins.
So I don't know what place this franchise is going right now. I'm sure they'll still be solid this year because they always are for the Steelers, but that thing the Steeler fans always like to tout that Mike Tomlin's never finished under 500. I'd worry about that a little bit this year. This team is going to be it's not going to be great.
So the schedule this year for the Steelers also, because so right now in free agency, here are the signings that they have made. Let's pull it up real quick. Wide receiver Ray McLeod got a re-signed deal. They've re-signed Zach Banner. They've signed B.J. Finney to a 1-year contract, and then they signed Cameron Sutton to a 2-year, keeping him in Pittsburgh, letting Bud Dupree walk from that team, restructuring Big Ben's contract. Their schedule this year, Jake, has first off their own division, which will be tough. Then from the NFC, they play every team in the NFC North. So at best 3-1, probably 2-2. With the Vikings game being the coin flip. Sorry, Bear fans. They also play, the AFC West. So yet again, maybe the Denver Broncos at home, maybe that's not a big deal, but still, you're going to Kansas City, Arrowhead with fans. You're going to the Chargers. Then you're playing Vegas at home. And then their other games, they've got Tennessee, like I said, should be a good one. Buffalo on the road at Orchard Park, and then the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, that's the Hall of Fame game. They're playing the Cowboys in the Hall of Fame game. That ain't going to count. So, yeah, basically Tennessee and Buffalo. Those are your two, like, fringe ones. And, like, I don't know. You may be right. This may be one where the Steelers are floating around 500 this year and not a playoff team. Not a playoff team.
Yeah, and it's going to be different because they really haven't gone through a rebuild in almost my lifetime. They've always been very solid, and Big Ben's been there, but they're almost. See, I'll point back to the Saints, and the Saints are good enough where they don't have to go to rebuild when they lose their Hall of Fame quarterback because the rest of the roster around him is good enough.
Yeah.
The Steelers is the big question mark because Dwayne Haskins is the big. What is he going to be? Because they're going to have to turn to him in the next couple of years if when Big Ben retires, if he ever does. If he doesn't retire, he's going to hamper this franchise even more. So then that becomes a bigger question mark. And I think it was Kyler Murray MVP asked, where does he think? Oh no, it was Sean. Philly Sean asked, where does he think that Juju's going to sign? I think Miami's down to two receivers now. It's Will Fuller and it's Juju Smith-Schuster in free agency. They need to add a receiver unless they're going to, obviously they could take one in the draft, but a lot of the teams that need a wide receiver are getting crossed off the board now.
They also, like the Steelers also need offensive line help, which has been something that people have been mocking to them in the draft since mock draft started. I know JD throws a dig at Big Ben saying, don't forget Big Ben coming back. He's the fourth best quarterback in the
Yikes.
North, Joey Burrows, baby, he's above Big Ben. Another team I want to mention, Jake, mainly because of the amount of signings that they have had, is Jacksonville. It seems like Urban Meyer has said, all right, you know what this team needs? Veterans. Veterans that I can bring in and hopefully instill a culture into this team. Here's the list of signings that they've had so far. Carlos Hyde, 2-year deal. Jamal Agnew, 3-year deal. Philip Dorsett signed, doesn't say how many years, but signed a deal with the Jaguars. Marvin Jones it says short-term deal. So a year? Does that mean a year, 2 years? I don't know. And Rappaport, fill me in. They also got Tyler Shatley. They got Dwayne Smoot, Tyson Alula, Jihad Ward, Malcolm Brown, Roy Robertson Harris, Sidney Jones, Shaquille Griffin, Rudy Ford, Rayshawn Jenkins. Obviously, some of those bigger than others, but this has been one of the most active teams in free agency, and it intrigues me because it's like, okay, is Urban Meyer trying to bring in these veterans to say, hey, I don't want to be the youngest team in the NFL. I want to have guys that I can trust. Like Carlos Hyde was good when he was on the 49ers. Seahawks kind of overlooked. Philip Dorsett has been overlooked since he's been drafted. Marvin Jones, not even the Lions wanted to keep him. Just put that into perspective. Jihad Ward, another one. I feel like he was an Illinois Fighting Illini. I got to look that up. Malcolm Brown, another one coming over. He was acquired in a trade with the Saints. Shaquille Griffin, who was one of those like, hey, you're a good draft story because, you know, you got half an arm, but, you know, now we're not going to keep you because you were only good for the story kind of a thing. These are guys that the thing I like about them, most of them are guys that are like, I need a chip on my shoulder. Yeah. I have something to prove because Urban Meyer can basically be like, hey, you guys should not be cocky. We are your last hope. Nobody wanted you but us.
Also, that's the wrong Griffin. That Griffin has 2 arms.
Oh, the other one, I thought it was Seattle. His brother.
Yeah, they are, but he has both arms. His brother is on Seattle.
You're right. Okay. I mixed up the Griffin, so never mind. Never mind. The whole narrative I just said out the door because I mixed their names up.
And yeah, obviously, I didn't. Did you even mention that they're getting Trevor Lawrence? that's a pretty.
I mean, it's pretty fucking explanatory.
I know,
right?
But that's a pretty big deal.
But I'm going on the not being young thing. Trevor Lawrence doesn't help that.
Okay. I think Urban Meyer doesn't want to walk into his first year in the league and be terrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what this is they don't want. He doesn't want to be like go 4 I have to adjust all my records now because it's an extra game. 4-13. Because it used to be 4-12. That's so weird. Like 4-13 and be a laughing stock for the league and be like, see, you couldn't make it in the NFL. You only can make it in college. He doesn't want to be that. And getting Trevor Lawrence offensive line help and trading in and improving this defense, which was putrid last year, has been huge. And getting a guy like Malcolm Brown who's going to help in the run game so much, what they struggled against so much, it's huge. this team is going to be very interesting. I still don't think they'll be very good, but I'm glad to see that they're making an effort to put a good team around Trevor Lawrence, which is huge to see.
One thing, let's see. No, you are right. Okay. So the schedules that I was looking at are wrong, by the way. They're gonna have to add an extra game because like you kept saying 17. I was like, there's only 16 games here.
17.
But it did say the NFL is planning to expand the regular season to 17 games in 2021.
Yeah.
So it is this year. Unless there's something I'm missing and it's next year. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Urban Meyer wants to come in and not be the laughing stock of the league. Like, I could totally see in Urban's mind his MO basically being like, okay, I'm at number 1 this year. I never want to fucking be here again.
Yeah.
I never want to be the number 1 pick again. And if we are, we failed as coaches. We failed as a team. Are they going to be successful? I don't know. The other team in their own division that has also made moves that I find interesting, kind of lump them into it, is the Texans have even made moves. Yeah. They have made moves to where it's, let's see, they brought in Tyrod Taylor because, they're going to lose Deshaun Watson eventually. They bring in Mark Ingram on a 1-year deal. Andre Roberts, wide receiver. Pharaoh Brown, tight end. You got Marcus Cannon, Justin McCray. Justin Britt, Shaq Lawson. They acquired him in a trade with the Dolphins. Derek Rivers, Malik Collins. Vernon Hargraves, the third, re-signed on a 1-year deal after they got him from Tampa. Like, this is a team that I'm like, holy shit. Obviously, I think the Texans are going to be worse than the Jaguars, but, like, what do you make of these Texan moves? Because they're not going to be good this year, right?
No, they're going to be terrible.
Yeah.
That's bad. They're going to be awful. It's
unless they got the power of the good old G-Man upstairs.
You know what? Honestly, though, I hope for his sake. I hope they trade Deshaun Watson, which now the reports are coming out that they're starting to accept it. It's first stage of getting rid of denial is acceptance.
Well, now they got a quarterback in Tyrod Taylor.
That's what. Just give Tyrod Taylor 17 games, please.
Just keep the team doctors away from him.
Just please let him play an entire year. The team's gonna suck, but for his own mental, just let him play. They're gonna suck. But let him play. I want to see Tyrod Taylor get a full year of being a starting NFL quarterback instead of everything that's happened to him every year, where it seems like he has a young quarterback behind him every year, and then that quarterback turns into a stud. And where he gets punctured in the lung and he loses his job. It's just, it's frustrating.
They trade Deshaun Watson to the 49ers for their pick. That team then they take Justin Fields or Trey Lance, and then they replace him halfway through, and it happens again.
I feel so bad. I mean, he's made money.
Or they trade Deshaun Watson for Sam Darnold, and then Sam Darnold just starts over.
Oh, don't ever do that. Oh my, no.
Because I could see that happening. Out of the two, they'd be like, yeah, Sam Darnold's the one you go with over Tyrod. I don't know who I would pick in that quarterback competition even. Like, I don't know.
Can I say no?
No, not even a little.
Good job, Tyrod Taylor, and let him live.
Any other team you think we should mention that we have not?
Do you have a team before I look?
I'm done. That's why I'm asking you.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see. Let me look for a second.
Aaron Jones, kudos to him getting the deal with the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, I know. We should talk about the Bucs for a minute because they literally kept together basically their entire core after winning Super Bowl.
I do have one I want to quickly mention.
Yeah.
AJ Green with the Cardinals. I'm excited to see what he's going to do there.
If he stays healthy, it's a good signing.
Yeah, with Kyler Murray, if Larry Fitzgerald stays, but you want to talk about the Bucs, Super Bowl bound again?
I mean, it's hard to say not with Tom Brady, right? It's they should be the favorites out of the NFC.
Gronk, what was it? Shaquille got a new contract.
Barrett, Chris Godwin, Levante David, Kevin Minter. They brought back their entire core, so they're gonna run it back once again.
Oh, I'm sorry, JD. I made JD cry again. He said I just stopped crying. AJ Green, leaving the Bengals.
Get over it. You said in the Discord, JD, good riddance. So I don't want to hear it. You said that it was good. All right. It's a good move. The Bengals need to move on. All right, Tyler Boyd's an elite wide receiver.
So is there anyone that can overtake the Bucs, or are we just running it back? It's seriously. So I don't even mean that as a joke.
They're going to be a wild card team again.
Yeah.
The Saints are going to win the division again.
Win that consolation prize. Brady will win when it counts.
we're gonna win that. The wild card is if the Panthers are apparently all in on trading for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
that's where the wild card comes in. I think that's
see.
We'll definitely see, but that's a very interesting team to get him if you pair Christian McCaffrey, Deshaun Watson together. Obviously, losing Curtis Samuel's huge, but that's interesting. This division is going to be very good this year. I think the Falcons are going to be on a bounce back year. I think Matt Ryan coming back, a new GM, new coach, all that, they're going to be bounced back this year. And the Panthers, if they get Deshaun Watson, that's 4 good teams in this division. If all that happens, obviously. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, everybody's going to talk about it every year. I don't know. Max Kellerman said it like 3 years ago. Tom Brady hitting that cliff. I don't think that cliff is ever coming.
And then it turned into the ravine.
Yeah, as the ravine. I don't think that cliff or ravine or whatever is ever coming. But it's going to be interesting. This whole division as a whole is a question mark besides the Bucs.
Eventually, it's got to come, right? Like, it can't be this good forever.
We say it with LeBron, too, in basketball. It doesn't have to come, apparently. I mean, Tom Brady, it's going to take – no, what it's going to take is it's going to take the injury. Is he going to stay healthy? If he stays healthy, he's going to keep balling like he has. Yeah. But if you want to look – I mean, if you really want to be critical, we can look at his playoff performances this year and realize he wasn't amazing in the playoffs. No. His defense really came up clutch, and they got the luck of the draw, which is what happens.
Also, and I don't want to take anything away from the Bucs, but you did have a lucky fumble. Although, who was it? Devin White did make a good play on that one, but you also played a one-footed Patrick Mahomes.
I think Devin White coming back saved their season. I think if Devin White doesn't play against the Saints, they lose against the Saints. He is the most important player on that team.
That Super Bowl was the equivalent of, okay, let's see if Patrick Mahomes could beat us with one hand tied behind his back.
And he almost did. Not really, but
he almost didn't, because he didn't. They were out of that game for long. But Jake, do you want to do the housekeeping here at the end? Do you want to give the updates?
You do it.
Man, this has been another great show of MVP Sports Live. Thank you guys for everything that you do. Remember, join the Discord. Link down below, our exclamation Discord and the Twitch gets you that link. If you want to support us, patreon.com/MVPvids is how you go ahead and do that. You can also throw us a sub on Twitch and get rewarded for doing so. Also, we're on Twitch every Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/MVPvids. We are also on YouTube at MVP Sports. Jake, you're pretty much done for the week, man. Good week for you. Got him out of the way 1-2. Well, maybe. Friday, we're doing the March Madness live stream. I will be on it for sure. Jake will probably be in there with us as we do that. But for normal shows, you and I are done for the week. That means tomorrow, first time ever, mark your calendars. It's NBA Day, but it's NBA Day with Dave Oster and Soapy Muffins. I am very intrigued for tomorrow's show because it's the first time. It's one of those first time ever matchups in a sports thing that you're like, oh, I got to watch this. That's what that is. I can't wait for them to kill it. I will tease they are going to be talking biggest surprises so far this season in the NBA, and probably we'll be touching that PJ Tucker trade that went down today. So a lot of good stuff to cover in the NBA. Stay tuned for that tomorrow. Thank you guys for being such a great audience today. And as always, have a good day, everybody.